Okay. Welcome to the Ravenswood City School District regular board meeting of February 23rd, 2023. The board meeting is called to order at 6:31 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and start with roll call. So Trustee Alexander here, Trustee Chabot-Mean, Trustee Latu present, Trustee Nunez here, and I myself, Jenny Bloom, is present. So we do have quorum. So if anyone wants to address the board, there are papers that you can fill out to make comments. So please fill those comment cards out and present it to the clerk, who is Trustee Latu here. And we will go ahead and move on to the next item, which is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
And do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. And we're going to move on to Bellhaven Elementary School presentation. So I'll go ahead and invite.
I'm all over this.
Actually, like, okay.
I'm set up for both of you.
You know, we decided twinsy today. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent, everyone else on YouTube. We have our presentation about Bellhaven. That was crazy. So we have our slide deck that we're just going to go through just to share a little bit about the joys of Bellhaven. If someone can click to the next slide.
Yeah, but quicker.
Oh.
Just go.
Oh, fancy. All right, so if we think about it taking a village to help our students, we have our community here. So we have quite a long list of everybody that helps our students to support them in any way, shape, or form. So we go from our homeroom teachers to our reading intervention teachers, to our cafeteria staff, our office staff, our custodians, our parent volunteers, and we have an amazing reading room volunteer as well who's organizing a lot. We have Playworks, our ELA, ELD coach, our SPED team, on our support staff, and our counselors. So we're gonna go through 4 things. I tried to break it down a little bit. We're gonna talk about some map data, looking at iReady, looking at our behavior, and then our community engagement, and then who we are. So I wanted to start off with a quote. I'm gonna read it. You guys are the best. My kids love it. I love it, and I appreciate every staff member at Bellhaven. I'm happy that I chose my kids to attend Bellhaven. And that's from our parent, Brenda Nava, who has a 1st grader here and a 5th grader. So starting off with our map data. I kind of got caught up on the bottom, but we have our diagnostic 1 versus diagnostic 2 for our reading. So the top is our 1 and the 2 is the bottom. So we have made some growth. If you're looking at just the bar graph part. So starting at students who are mid or above grade level, we started at 2% at the beginning of the year and we're now at 6%. So we're making growth. The largest chunk that we grew was actually the yellow from 1 grade level behind. We went from 31% to 40%, which means our red also shrunk down. And we're excited to continue to see that growth as the rest of the year continues. And iReady actually provides us a reading growth data chart as well. So we are actually exactly at 50%, but this is the median percent progress towards typical growth. And our goal is to be at 50% or higher for our middle of the year assessment. So we're right on target with that. And this is about 50% of our students are there. So again, this is the median, not the mean or the average. And then same thing for math. our diagnostic 1 on the top and diagnostic 2 on the bottom. We have our growth chart. The biggest jump is in the yellow band for students who are 1 grade level below. We started out with a lot more students at 2 grade levels or 3 grade levels below, having a bigger chunk there, but now it has shrunk and we are moving in the right direction to growing, and our students are only 1 grade level below. So we are actually at 54% for our growth data chart for math. Again, this is the median, but we're super excited that we are on the right direction. So what does this mean? First of all, our students are figuring out how to use iReady because it's a new program this year. There were definitely some students at the beginning of the year too who were, just learning how to click through things and get through it all. But really took our middle of the year assessment seriously. So they're figuring that out. Progress is being made in both subject areas, which we're really excited about. But we still have a lot of work to do. So our teachers are continuing to work hard to help support our students. They're using the lessons from iReady as well to then help pull their small groups and give more one-on-one attention. So our second part is looking at behavior for suspensions and referrals. We looked across a 5-year gap because we wanted to look at pre-pandemic, pandemic, and then post-pandemic. So looking at from 2018 to 2019, our Latinx and Hispanic students, for suspensions, there were 7. And then jumping over to where we are right now for 22-23, we're down to 2. Obviously the year is not over yet, but we are hoping to keep our numbers on the lower side. And then again, looking at 2018-2019 for our African-American students and our Pacific Islander students, they were a little bit higher for that year than they are even from 21 to 22 from last year. And we have yet to have any suspensions this year that are listed. So, we're continually working on our social emotional growth and learning how to be a community here at school. And we have really started to try and dive into how to make those connections with our students and have more of a restorative practice than anything else. Because we all know that suspensions don't always work, right? And so we want to be able to then help support those students even more and make sure that they know that we are here to help them and to also teach them as well and guide them in the right direction. So then also looking at our referrals, again, this is across 5 years. So the green would be 2018, 2019. And then jumping across for year after year. 21, 22 is the purple, which is a little bit more difficult to separate from the blue on the TV, but it sort of shows how it started off a little bit higher in September and then dipped, spiked a little bit from March, April, and May of last year. And then looking at this year, we don't have as high of a graph, considering that we're only in February. So very proud of that as well. And I'm gonna let Stuart talk about community engagement.
Good evening, everyone. So moving on to community engagement, we have had several family nights already this year. What we have here, we have some math nights that our teachers have put on. One of our teacher leaders actually ran a PD for several of our teachers to help promote this and talk about project-based learning with the kids. And then at the end of it, they put on a family night, which was market night. They also did a soccer night as well. These are all from market night though. Soccer night was earlier in the year, so the family nights are really cool. We have our winter concert as well. So we did a winter concert this year, where we also used that as a fundraiser and did a bake sale. It was really pretty successful and we had a lot of people come in, lots of good food. The kids had a blast. It was great to see them all dressed up and having a good time. Here is more from, this is from soccer night. Like I said, this was put on by our 4th grade team. And so they did soccer night. This is their 2nd year in a row of doing soccer night, as well as their 2nd year doing market night. But this year they brought in 3rd grade and 5th grade as well for market night. And so this was successful last year, was successful this year. I know, Ron, when you came last year to it, did you make it this year? I'm not sure.
I did not know about it.
Sorry, that's my fault. So yeah, so it's great. They do a lot of planning around, it's all for math, and they're doing it with measuring out soccer fields, creating different shapes and then doing a lot of area and perimeter with it. So it's a really cool event. Moving on here, we have, this was from game night that we did, or I'm sorry, fall festival, actually. This was fall festival that we had in October. And that was a lot of fun. I got to run one of the little games, but everyone came out there. We had a lot of people come out playing games. There was some food there. It was a lot of fun. We also had a movie night earlier this year as well, where we showed Encanto. And unfortunately, we don't have any pictures from that one. But that one's really cool. It's our 2nd year doing the movie night as well. It's a drive-in movie. So we have a giant inflatable screen. The families drive their cars onto campus. Then we have snacks for them, and then like popcorn and things like that. And then they watched a movie last year. We showed Luca. So that's really cool. Here we have just some of our volunteers. In the upper left, we have some volunteers from Facebook that came to help do some work with our FOSS kits. The lower one, they're helping to serve lunch when we did our little lunch barbecue here earlier in the year. They were also from Facebook as well. The bottom right, those are our volunteers from Stanford that were helping to paint benches. And they were actually here on the same day as the FOSS kit people. And then we have, every week we have Suchi come in and they run our Panther Paw store. And they do an excellent job with that. They've been a wonderful partner of ours for many years, ever since Ron was here. And then here we have our reading room that Miss Jody runs. She's a wonderful volunteer. This is basically our school library, which is run completely by volunteers. Miss Jody sets up a schedule. Classes go in either once a week or once every other week. They have books read to them by volunteers. And then sometimes they do projects. She works with the teachers as well. So if teachers ever want to align any sort of activities with the curriculum they're teaching, she'll do that for them as well. So it's really great. I get to go in there every once in a while and read a book, which I love. And then we have who we are. You want me to do who we are? All right, who we are. All right, so we have here a couple morning meetings. Like Michelle said, community is a big thing, and that's one of our big focuses of the year, is to build community within, not just amongst our staff and students, but just all around, working with our community as well. Something that we want to stress is that as Bellhaven, if you look around this neighborhood, there's not a whole lot of large businesses or anything. So we are actually a hub for our community. So the more we can do with our community and for our community, I think will be really, really useful. So here we have our morning meetings. So a lot of our teachers do the morning meetings in the morning. Actually, the one on the right is actually a closing circle, I believe, right? So that's actually at the end of the day. So some teachers do morning meetings and closing meetings. Some do just morning meetings. A lot of them, again, focus on the SEL, and they talk a lot about feelings. How did you feel today, or how are you feeling this morning? Which really helps to center kids and get them going for the day. We have Spirit Days. So we have a great team that helps set up Spirit Days. We had, on the top left, we had wear your Africa shirt, so, and then also the one in the almost bottom right, they actually had matching shirts, which is really cool. We have sports day, the one on the right, that's one of our paraeducators, and that was on Valentine's Day, so it was wear pink or red. And then the bottom left also was Valentine's Day, pink or red. So Spirit days are always fun. Everyone loves pajama day, right? Every Wednesday, we do a morning sing. So morning sings are a new thing this year, now that we can have kids back in. I know you brought it over from Willow. They're a wonderful time for us to all get together. The kids amazingly love the song, The Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round. It is insane. I never thought in a million years that would be so popular. But it's, morning, we have 4 songs that we classes run it each week. So each week a different class is in charge of picking the songs and then also running and doing the announcing for it. So it's a lot of fun. So. For it. The ones that are too cool. They've kind of started it and really done a great job with it. Oh, there it goes. We have here some pictures from, or a picture up the top right. We have that from Halloween. We had our Halloween parade, which we were able to invite parents back onto campus this year. So that was a lot of fun. We had a little parent section where they got to see their kids do their little parade. And on the bottom left, as all of you guys know, we have a lot of wonderful gardens here on campus. So this is one of our first grade classes, and they do a lot of gardening because it's also right outside their classroom too, but they get to do a lot of learning in the gardens, which is awesome. Our kindergarten also does a lot of learning, and our 4th and 5th grade as well this year are getting into it, and they use it for math, they use it for science, and it's a great learning environment for the kids. Art and Music Club, we hold that every Wednesday. Our art and music teachers open up their classrooms during lunch for kids to come in and either do more art or more music, which is awesome to see. Kids get really excited for it. Every once in a while, you know, sometimes they might be working in the garden or something. You'll see kids waiting at their door, waiting for the teachers to come in. So it's wonderful that they're into it. Here we have just some learning going on. Some on the upper left, we have our one of our 3rd grade classes. Looks like they are doing some math there. That's Miss Hognia, and she actually is focusing on more project-based and hands-on learning for math, exploratory math. So that's going really well. It's fun to go into her class and see the kids working out real-world problems for their math. On the top right, we have Miss Brito in our 1st grade class. Is that science? Working on some science there. They always have a good time in that class. Every time I walk in there, they're always doing something cool. Every morning they start with a different hello. They learn a different hello from a different language, which is cool. And then on the bottom, we have there, that is one of our 4th grade classes. That's Miss Richards' class. And they're looks like they're doing math in that one too. Sure, wondering. You're doing something, but that's one of my my kind of fun classes. I actually was in there today, and she was like, "You need anything?" And I'm like, I'm just here for a nice quiet place to hang out and chill with the kids. Because they always play they do a lot of math games in there. She's an incredible math teacher, and so they always have really cool stuff. She's actually the teacher that led the PD for the project-based learning, and she's also one that spearheaded all of our math family nights last year with soccer night, market night, and then at the end of the year, they'll do a chicken night too. They raise chickens. So yeah, her class always has really cool, fun stuff going on. So like I said, it's one of my places to go. All right, here we have our letters training. So, as a district, we're looking to improve our reading. So as a school site, we're all going through letters training to learn about the science of reading. We do that almost every other Wednesday during our PD time. So the teachers are really committed. They all have to put in an extra hour for each training, as well as outside of school learning too. So it's quite a commitment, and it's a 2-year process also. But, a lot of the teachers are saying it's just helping so much with, identifying things in their students as readers and really helping them out there. I was actually just talking to a teacher today in a parent meeting, and she was saying how much it was really helping her out with working with that student, so. And then here is a bunch of our teachers working on the ELA adoption process for the whole district, and we have 13 of our 16 homeroom teachers actually participating in that. So we have a wonderful staff that is very involved in, really making moves to help our district out. A lot of them are also working on the report card pilot too. So, all right, and then here we have one of our little students, Mateo. So you're going to get to meet him and learn a little bit about his day. He is a 4th grader.
of families here. So that's exciting. And we wanted to show a clip of a day in the life of a student because we have really been talking about, as a district, what is it like to be following a student, and how are they being seen, what's been really going on. This was yesterday, so it was a short day, but it sort of gives you a glimpse into what Belhaven's like. We also do our Wednesday pizza dance. So it happens in morning sing, we all cheer, it's pizza day, and we like do a little pizza dance. So I guess I did teach him those moves, kind of. But we're super excited to just sort of give you an idea of what a student's life is coming in from the beginning, entering in through the gates in the morning, and then just making it all the way through. The curriculum that you did see him reading for ELA was from our curriculum adoption. So the texts are definitely more grade level standards based than what you would see with Lucy. Okay, so we are going to end with a quick video of what Belhaven means from some of our families, staff, and students. And we ended this volunteer who knows that a lot of educated with the left us earlier this year. But just like a quick glimpse of what Belhaven means to everyone. And we think about wanting to build that community. It really warms my heart to hear from someone else and the people who are actually living it. And that wasn't me going around asking to record, so people didn't have to feel obligated to say something nice, right? But it really came from the students. So I wanted to end with that, and thank you all so much.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Alexander.
I was waiting because you knew I was gonna say something, so I was waiting to give other people a chance first. So any of you want to say something first?
I want to say thank you for the presentation. I feel like we got a really good glimpse of like what goes on here. And as someone who's only seen Belhaven from the outside, like it's really nice to see like what's going on inside. And then I had a question, and I don't know if it's too technical, and we could talk offline. But with the iReady data, with those like huge gains, do we think that it's that growth will continue, or was it, because I feel like you mentioned something about from the first time to the second time they learned how to use the program, and so do we think that most of, I hope not all of it will attribute that, but maybe it will continue to see some of that growth later?
Yeah, good question. I definitely think some of it was learning how to use it, but then students have also been using their own personalized program from iReady as well throughout, from the beginning to the middle of the year diagnostic. So I'm really hoping that their individualized learning programs and paths are what's also helping guide them towards those gains. I won't have an idea until we get to the end of the year. because this will be our first full year going through it.
Yeah.
And hopefully, because teachers are still continuing to use that, and now that students are more familiar with it all as well, that we hope to continue to see a lot more growth too.
And then my other question was around suspension. It seems like year to year it's been going down. But in prior years, if you were to break it down like by semester, do most of those happen like first semester or second semester? And like if it's more first semester, are we on good track since it's only 2 this year so far? Or does it always get crazier like second semester?
That is a good question.
Oh, okay.
I actually came in during the pandemic
Uh-huh.
to Belhaven, so I don't know what it was like
Yeah,
in the beginning, but we can definitely look that up and get back to you on.
I was just curious because it's really good progress in general. I just hope, yeah, it continues. Yeah. That was all.
Thank you. I'll speak before trustee Alexander. Thank you for the presentation.
I already crossed 2 things off my list that were brought up, so this is good.
Yeah. So it's great to see the kids just on campus and teachers and seeing classrooms. I think Gina and I were here during the barbecue, and we know kids love the barbecue and the pizza day. I hear that from my kids as well. So I really did appreciate seeing all the community engagement that Belhaven puts in to opening up the school to the community, and also just that drive-in and family nights. I think that that's really great, and just the focus on math and helping parents even engage in that way with their kids. So kudos. I love the presentation, and thank you for sharing.
For the chair, before trustee Alexander jumps in, I just want to commend you for the presentation. I think it was, I like how you broke it down into different sections so that we could walk through. I think it was really great to end, to put Mateo at the end, because it kind of put all the things that we were building on into perspective. I will say that when you have that many parents, it's a true sentiment to the work that's being done within the school, because parents will come even it's, it's after work and, they've had a long day, but we saw amazing numbers. And I feel like a lot of our other schools in the district can learn from some of these great examples, not comparing other schools, but great work there. And I'm excited to see the data from iReady continue to grow. Of course, if there is any areas that maybe, the district adjustment, I think that, we can always help to make the transition as smooth as possible so that you all feel as comfortable as you can when it comes to putting the data forward. See? Yes, you get it.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Okay, so you all know my heart's in Belhaven. I taught here for a very long time. So it's really exciting seeing Belhaven's, the videos of everything great that's happening here. I'm gonna echo about Mateo ending the video. Yes, I taught his older brother. Have fond memories of Mr. Viego. And I have a couple of questions. Does the CASP assessment in the similarity of use or not really?
That's a good question. So the diagnostic touches on the standards, but the way that they question is not does not mirror CASP as much.
Great, thank you. So when you had the graphs, 1 and 2 were beginning of the year, middle of the year, and then 3 will be end of the year.
Yes.
Yay for math nights. Yay for that. I love going in, seeing the chickens and the winter concert was fabulous. I love going to that. I really need the words to Noel, please. And really proud of 3rd and 5th grade for joining on. I think that's great. Next we get TKK 1-2 having their own math night in, and that would be great. love Wednesday Sing. Thank you for bringing it across the freeway. I like the fact that the kids are singing what are considered traditional American children's songs, as well as traditional songs from other cultures, as well as modern pop music. So I really think that, because when I introduce a song or something to my class that is something I expect them to know and they don't know it, I'm like, wait a minute. So I like seeing that they're getting a whole variety of singing. And then, yep, you told me that Core 5 is the lecture program they use, kids are using Core 5 Power Up. So, and are they doing Power Up in the middle school? Or is it just Core 5 here? Or is it advanced?
So we're using Lexia,
Right,
and then we also use iReady.
so is it Lexia Core 5? Thank you, yeah.
We don't use that in the middle school, we use the iReady.
The iReady only in the most. And I really love coming here and seeing the family engagement that's here. I heard last night that Mr. Eager's been here a lot, also engaging with parents and families once a week. I'd like to see more board meetings coming over here. So I really appreciate the power outage for allowing this to happen and us coming to this side of Willow Road. And you guys, it was great. I love Bellhaven's my heart. I love all the schools, but yeah, well done. Love seeing everything that's happening here. I miss it. I'm sad that I'm not helping here make it grow.
Well, you are. in a
You
different
are.
capacity.
Well,
It's doing more
I'm
umbrella.
doing it a different way. I miss being a part of the Bellhaven community on campus every single day.
You can come here every single day.
Well, you all are welcome anytime. We will definitely mark it, calendars for chicken night once that gets settled down, and other family nights. And we appreciate you all coming over here to Bellhaven, because that also allows Mr. S and I to help serve some families food right before, because a lot of our families still have power outages as well. So to be able to work serving the community and then coming over here. So thank you.
Oh, through the chair, one last
Yes.
thing. The gardens are also my favorite. I love the sunflower season, when they're like 10 feet tall in the air. I think that's one of my biggest highlights whenever I visit, so I wanted to mention that.
Thank you. We are going, thank you, I don't think we have any more comments for.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we move into closed session, are there any speakers who want to speak on any item, whether it's the Bellhaven presentation or anything that we will be speaking about in closed session? If you do, then please hand your card to the trustee. Item 12. This is, okay, so nothing for closed session. Hi, Pastor Macklin. Do you want to speak before closed session, or do you want to speak?
Whatever's appropriate. Well, whatever you deem it is appropriate to talk about the building of the center.
So you can speak now, because we have a closed session item on item number 1.
Item number 1,
B1.
B1.
B1 doesn't have.
B2.
I'm sorry, it's B2. B2.
B2.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, then
So you can, if we
Okay.
change it to B2.
yeah, so if they did want to speak on B2, they can, or they can wait till the item is on an open session. It's up to you guys. Sorry, I can't tell you what is appropriate for when you want to
So
comment. That is a personal choice.
So if they talk during 4B2, it's a more general, but if you talk during item 12, we'll be having a public conversation about some of the changes, so you'll hear perspective. That's what I'm trying to let you know. So if you talk now, we're not gonna be able to respond.
Right.
Or so if you want more context on some of the updates,
Mhm.
so either one.
Okay.
So in other words, you'll give a little bit of context of what you've changed already, and then we can speak, is that right?
So in item 12, they're gonna present the consideration to enter the agreement. So the board will also be in discussion during that period.
And we will also be discussing this item during our closed session. So if there's anything you would like us to hear before we go into closed session, now is the time to give us your speaker cards. If we do not have speaker cards for this item, then I can go ahead and move this into closed
They
session.
can technically talk both.
You can speak at both times. You're not limited to one time.
So if you think that there's something that we should hear before we go into
Yes.
deliberation.
that's-
So,
Okay, we'll listen first and then we'll
okay,
share at the second. Is that cool?
yes, that's totally fine. Sorry, I was just making sure that we,
All right.
we accommodate Pastor Matt. So thank you. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and move this into closed session at 7:13 PM. We will return in about 30 minutes. Thank you. Is 8:17 and we're back from closed session and we will begin open session. So. All right, if we have any speakers, please complete the yellow form. And I believe that trustee Lachu has them, but we're gonna go ahead and move on to the consent agenda, which is item 8. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Or if there's anyone who would like to speak on the consent agenda?
The chair, you have to report back.
Oh, yes, thank you. So in closed session, thank you. Yes, so in closed session for item A, discussion was had and action was taken 4-0 to approve. And then for item B1, there was discussion. Item B2, there was discussion. Item C1, there was discussion. So now moving on to the consent agenda. Yeah, if there's anyone speaking from the floor for item number 8, or from the floor in general for anything that is, sorry. So if there's anyone speaking from the floor for anything that is not agendized. Do we have any speakers for any? Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the consent agenda. So item 8, is there any speakers for item 8? No. Okay, so I will make a motion, or I will entertain a motion for item 8.
Through the chair, I move to approve the consent agenda, item 8.
I second. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The item carries 4-0. We're going to go ahead and move on to item number 9 with this, which is the consideration to approve the tentative agreement with CSEA.
So the item that you have before you is for consideration for approval for the tentative agreement for our classified staff, our classified school employees association, CSEA, as with RTA and the management. These increases are for 5.6% on the salary schedule.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Any comments for item 9? All right, the chair.
Yay for working so hard for us.
So I will entertain a motion for item 9.
I'll make a motion that we approve for item 9.
I'll second. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you. So it passes 4-0. And we will move on to item number 10, which is the consideration to approve the academic calendar for 2023 school year.
So also mine, this is for the 2023-2024 school year. This is slightly different than previous years that we're aligning with Sequoia Union High School District. So our school start date for next year will be August 16th, which is about a week earlier than in previous years. And we will also end a week earlier, which would be June 7th.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Through the chair, one more time, so school will be out by the 27th, May 27th?
No, so June 7th.
7th.
Yes.
Does that in any way conflict with any of the graduation ceremonies at the high schools?
This is aligned with Sequoia Union. I do not believe it conflicts with any of the graduations. Now, we were pretty intentional when we looked at the different high school calendars.
No, thank you, that was it.
And also, just so you're aware, similar to Sequoia Union High School District, the week in February is also midwinter break.
And that is also new for this year.
Thank you. So any other questions or comments? All right. So I will entertain a motion to approve the academic calendar.
I move to approve the academic calendar.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries 4-0. All right, so we are going to go ahead and move on to item number 11, which is direction to approve the Bellhaven construction phasing plan.
So, yes, the rule will be coming soon, but the board asked us to take and talk with our staff in regards to the planning and when we would execute and consider the timeline. And so we have a quick and long version as we presented to the board, and you asked us to take it back to staff to determine their interest. And so we did the engagement with staff, and we want to take it away?
I'll hold the mic. Thank you, Joan, for going so quickly tonight. I just want to talk through, when I was here on the January 9th meeting, I presented two options for the campus redesign for Bellhaven. One was a phased approach and the other was a whole campus approach. The trustees' advice was to bring this back to the school community and ask them for feedback. I don't believe this has ever happened, to me at least, but there was unanimous feedback in support of the whole campus approach. So we're recommending proceeding with that approach, hoping that that works for everyone. As we discussed at the meeting, there are some advantages to that approach. There are some cost savings, but I think more importantly to the staff, this really involves them sort of moving out all at once to temporary housing. Sorry, we might advance this slide. Thank you. As would involve them moving out to temporary housing on the field. So this will basically be the entire campus moving out in September to various locations on the field, as well as the portables along Chilco. We'll shut down the entire campus and then reopen the entire campus 2 years later. So two full school years later, but the entire campus will be. We then will do work on the blacktop and the field over sort of the next either summer or year, depending on sort of the speed of construction desired at that point. There should be another slide here. I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulty, but there we go. That is the design of the phasing approach. Or sorry, excuse me, the whole campus approach of where the temporary housing will be. That concludes the presentation.
Any questions or comments from the board?
And I guess we wanted to make sure we have direction from the board.
I think what was presented is reflective of what the staff and the board wants. And so I think as is, I think we are headed in the right direction when it comes to, I don't want to say aligning our ducks, but I feel like we've done the due process, and what is presented seems like a good way.
Yeah, I think that just getting the feedback and it being unanimous amongst the staff that they want everything done at the same time versus the phase approach. I think that was the biggest thing because they're the ones that have to move classrooms. And so I think that stability is going to be really good for our students as well. So yes, thank you. So I guess I'm hearing direction is to move forward with this approach.
Through the chair, I move to approve the contract, item 11A.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries 4-0. So we're going to go ahead and move on to item number 12, which is the consideration to enter into agreement with Sable Foundation for the development of a community hub.
Thank you. This has been a very long process. The board initially created the vision for a community hub in December of 2022. And staff and the board have been working to bring in new partners, and we're thrilled to have done that. We're thrilled to have gotten feedback from the board over the last really 9 months or so to negotiate every aspect of this contract. I think the contract that we're presenting to the board today really reflects both what is best for the community, what is best for the district, and a really wonderful set of protections for both parties. So really grateful for the board's feedback and sustained approach on getting a result that is really sort of, I think, strong for the community and for the district.
Thank you. And then any questions or comments from the board?
Sure, and we'll come after.
after the public comment. Does anyone have anything to say before public comment? Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to the speakers, because I believe there's speakers for this. So we will move on, and Trustee Latu will call upon the public as the cards that she received, and it's 2 minutes for every speaker. So we will hear what you have to say. We can't necessarily respond, but we will consider as we have our discussion. And once the 2-minute thing hits, we will have to cut you off. So I am letting you know ahead of time that once that 2-minute bell rings, I will be saying thank you for your comment. So we'll go ahead and.
Madam Chair, we have 3 speakers. Our first speaker will be Pastor Macklin.
Thank you. Let's go this way. Right there. Thank you. All right. Thank you to the board of trustees for the school district. Thank you for having us today. I'm a representation of the collaboration of clergymen and community activists that have partnered with Sand Hill Foundation to undergird the vision of this wonderful opportunity to change this community for a lifetime. I was raised in this community and seen the despair and the great need for something of this vision. And I believe the collaboration, not only with us, but with the school district, will begin to work with our children from an early age to bring them into a full circle of a success. And I believe that if you would approve this, it'll be a blessing that through what we see of negativity of East Palo Alto can be turned and can be changed. And I believe the future of our city will be strengthened because of this collaboration. And so if you would please take that into consideration and approve it, you have the clergymen of this city, others that will speak, that are on board with this and can't wait to activate our force and strength to make this city a better place. Appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, we have Pastor Joe Prado from EPA Apostolic Church. Apostolic Church.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank every one of you for your service to our community. I want to echo what Pastor Macklin has just said. I visualize this community hub as a place where we can really reach out to the children of our community through sports. It's a fact that kids that are involved with sports will excel with their academics. Also, there's going to be a healthcare, there's going to be a cafe. It's just a place where we can gather our children and really just reach out to them. This is a time that so many challenges in our community for our children. So it's a great opportunity for we, the faith community and the school district to come together to serve our children. Please consider this. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker will be Pastor Baines.
Good evening, board president, and, or I should say trustees. One, I'm a Pentecostal preacher, so I need 15 minutes. We're grateful for this opportunity. I want to thank you all for the consideration that you all are affording us to work together with you all to help address systemic issues in our community. And we want to thank Peter and Susanna for their most charitable gift, which I have known them for at least, I don't know, 8 or 9 years. And there's no strings attached to this, because a lot of times people come into our communities and they're trying to bait and switch, or they're trying to do bells and whistles and smoke and mirrors. Well, I can assure you that we as a faith community have vetted them a long time ago, and they are looking out for the greater good for our community in this fashion with this particular project. I think that this project can be the crown jewel that the whole Bay Area could envy, where you can show that we can work together from different walks of life. And this will be open to our community to help our community become a healthier community. We just happen to be the faith leaders of the community that's coming alongside, because It's on our doors that people knock and say, we need this, we need that, we need food, we need a safe place to be. This will be that safe place. This will be that crown jewel that you all have an opportunity to support and partner with us all on. So thank you for this opportunity.
That concludes our speakers, slips that are in front of me.
Thank you. And so now I will go ahead and move to the board if there's any questions or comments on this contract. I know, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I know that we have had robust conversation in many meetings and many conversations, and I will say, as a Pentecostal pastor's daughter, you guys, the faith leaders did great in keeping the time. So thank you for that. I also want to emphasize that this is a partnership and this is an investment in our community, for all of our community, for all of our kids, and especially to benefit the Ravenswood City School District students and families. And so I want to make sure that that is known to our community, that we as the Ravenswood City School District is partnering with you guys to make sure that this space is open and welcoming to all, right? And that's something that we really worked hard on in making sure that that's included in the contract and to make sure that there is communication, right? This is not you've given us the money, now here's the space. This is really a partnership, and we hope to continue to have those conversations, and that's why we have presentations, right, that is going to come back where we're in constant communication, I think yearly or more than once a year, about how the space is being used and how our community is benefiting from it. Because it is a community hub, and we all know, even in the last few days, that this kind of space is needed for our families and our students and our staff. And so, yeah, so I'm excited and I'm looking forward for this partnership and the investment that we're getting from you guys, and we do appreciate it, and we are thankful for it.
Through the chair, I want to first say a huge thank you to Will Eager, Superintendent Sudaria, and the Sand Hill Foundation. To get here took a lot of work, took a lot of strength. But I think that when you put the cards on the table, I think one thing that we can all agree on is how much we love this community and how much we want to ensure that this community gets the best of what it can. And so Will has worked tirelessly, Superintendent Sudaria has worked tirelessly, this board has worked tirelessly to ensure that that this contract is in alignment with both parties. And just to be 100% clear with the minutes and with the public, I am a member of East Palo Alto Church. I am a member of the East Palo Alto Faith Committee. That does not affect my ability to vote, but I wanted to make sure that that was 100% clear to the public, just that point. But I will say that I think that this is something to be excited about. Our young people, I will always fight that our young people have more options to go to after school, that they have a safe environment, a clean environment, an environment that looks and feels like a space should feel in 2023 and forward. And so I just want to say thank you for stepping into this relationship with the board. I can't speak on behalf of all our board, but I feel like as a trustee, that I am happy to be in a working relationship with the faith community, and also with just the community in general, so that we can continue to produce greater things, because I believe that our community deserves great things. And so thank you all for coming to many of the meetings. Thank you to our staff and to the trustees, Madam Chair, just for aligning and getting us to here. And so, yeah.
Any other questions?
One comment through the chair. We all know the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And through this union of the two groups, we're putting that saying into action here in the East Palo Alto and Belhaven communities. So
Thank you. So I will entertain a motion to approve item 12.
Through the chair, I move to approve item. Oh, you want to say something? No. Through the chair, I move to approve item 12 to enter into agreement with Sand Hill Foundation for the development of the community hub.
I would like to second that.
So I'll go ahead and take a vote. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Great, motion carries 4-0. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next item, which is item 13, presentation of the contract with Alliance Strategic Development performing the effectiveness of affordable housing.
Good evening, trustees. Tonight we're presenting the contract for public review, proposed contract for public review with Alliance Strategic Development to develop affordable housing with a preference for teachers and staff at the former flood site. I believe we're pulling up the presentation now. For just a quick summary of the presentation. For a bit of context, the city of Menlo Park has been working on their housing element really the last several years, and their improved housing element by the state, the housing element that is submitted to the state does call for rezoning the former flood school site in such a manner that would allow for the development of up to 90 units of affordable housing on that site. Tonight, we're presenting two documents, the option and the ground lease, with Alliance Strategic Development for public review. Depending on when the board feels the documents are ready to vote on, we'll have the final versions ready for either the February 23rd meeting, which I'm sorry to say, either the March 9th meeting or the March 23rd, excuse me. We are not voting on anything today. This is just for discussion. The specifics of the projects are as we've stated. They haven't changed. We've been very consistent about those over the last year we've been working on this project. We are talking about 80 to 90 units of 100% affordable housing, which will have a preference for teachers and staff. The project would bring in moderate but meaningful amounts of revenue to the district on the order of magnitude of $300,000 to $500,000 a year, which would grow over time. I would reiterate that these types of contracts with affordable housing are tightly regulated, and there is not a lot of wiggle room for us or for the developer to maneuver in this. So these are very, I would say, boilerplate documents that do have some district-specific nuance, but in general are very sort of normal documents for this type of deal. I'm going to quickly go through just a couple of different pieces here. I know it's been a while since we talked about this publicly, and I do want to make sure that for folks who are tuning in now for the first time, they do understand a little about what we're trying to do, why we're trying to do it, and then what's in the specific contract, as well as some of the next steps over the next 39 months as we hopefully move towards constructing this building should the board approve the contract. Bit of context here. This is a $50 to $60 million building, or it is about 3 to 4 stories. It is about 80 to 90 units. All of those variables will be determined by the city in their sort of zoning and site review. The housing, as we'll discuss later, would have a preference for Ravenswood teachers and staff. So any kind of open units throughout the entire lease of the agreement, when they come open, would first be offered to our teachers and staff should they meet the requirements. This would, as mentioned before, bring in about $300,000 to $500,000 a year. That will grow over time, as we'll discuss, as rents in the area grow. And I would highlight where, there's certainly been a lot of talk about different entrances to the site. That is something that we're obviously exploring as well. As discussed, this has really been, the first news article here is actually from 2013, which is obviously quite some time ago as we first explored developing the site. The site has remained vacant for well over a decade. We've not been able to do anything with this site other than keep it vacant. We have had recently a number of issues with animals sort of getting into the site and causing havoc. So we are excited to sort of think about different uses. And over the last couple of years, we have spent a lot of time exploring different uses, thinking about different uses, publicly discussing different uses. We've done a large amount of community engagement. It's obviously been a big focus of the last election cycle. You can see on Google News the number of times the site was mentioned. There's There are over 70 news articles on this site. So this is a very publicly discussed, a lot of public awareness of this site and what the proposed plans are. Quickly talking through some of the project rationale, there's really sort of two reasons we're developing this site. The first is we acknowledge that there's a local housing crisis, both among our local community and among our staff. 2% of our staff are currently unhoused according to our housing survey, 2%. A third, just a third, have access to safe, secure, and affordable housing. Almost just under half are considering leaving the district because of the cost of their housing or the length of their commute. You have folks driving in every day from Stockton. This housing would meet our staff needs. 85% of our staff who responded to this survey are eligible to live in affordable housing. Affordable housing is a reflection of the local housing prices. The local housing prices here are quite high. So even our staff who are dual income still are eligible for affordable housing, the vast majority. If you sort of took this number at face value, we would need over 200 units of affordable housing to meet the needs of our staff, right? And that's 200 units of staff who are both demonstrating an interest in affordable housing and are eligible. The second reason that we're exploring this is we want to close funding inequities. When you account for student need, I think this graph has become sort of well shared. I think I presented at every board meeting or every board financial meeting. We have the lowest amount of funding among elementary school districts in the county. Right. If you look at our total budget, it's higher, but if you look at account for need in any way, we are the lowest funded district in the county. This does not solve this issue on its own, but it does make a small but meaningful dent in. We did talk about that. I'm going to sort of take through these, but it's just highlighting sort of the need. The red is folks who do not have a safe, secure, and affordable housing option. You'll see how small the green is. It's just highlighting again, a large number of our staff members are considered leaving because of the cost of housing or the length of their commute. And this again is just highlighting 85% of our staff are eligible to live in affordable housing. And here again is that famous graph that has the amounts of funding we have across San Mateo. Quickly going through the contract overview. The contract is divided into two parts, an option agreement and a ground lease. It's very typical for these types of agreements. The option governs the sort of development time where folks are getting approval from the city of Menlo Park. They're doing engagement around the design and project aspects. They're getting funding for the project. The ground lease is sort of the more commonly thought of, and it obviously will last the length of the 90-year term. This is the part of the agreement that governs maintenance, construction, renovations, rent, key terms like that that are sort of traditionally thought of when people think of ground leases. I would highlight that, again, unlike our other leases, so not like the agreement with Santo, and not like the agreement with Mass Capital, not like agreement with all five on this site, not like our agreement with Belhaven Library. This is a very tightly regulated industry or sector where these types of developments are very sort of strictly girded. There's not a lot of wiggle room around the federal and state regulations that govern the site. So these agreements are fairly boilerplate. So quickly turning through them, the option agreement, Alliance Strategic Development, here abbreviated to ASD, they'll put down money at signing. Once the city grants all their approvals, if the city grants all their approvals, that money becomes non-refundable. If the city does not grant those approvals, at any point during that 39-month period, either party can exit from the deal. The option period is 39 months. We hope that it'll take far less. But this is the outside date that Alliance Strategic Development has to meet all of their requirements. That includes getting approvals from the city, getting financing for the project, right, which is requires sort of a series of rounds of state housing, as well as some other developments. We do talk later about the specific milestones that need to make. Turning to the ground lease, just a couple of key terms here. The first is the length of the contract. It is 90 years. I would highlight that Ravenswood will own this land. So this is not a sale, this is not a transfer, this is a ground lease. So Ravenswood will own the land, Alliant will operate the improvements on the land. The rent is kind of divided into two different sections, two primary sections. The first is an initial payment. It is currently estimated at $5 million. That will cover the first 15 years of the lease. Right now, there's been a lot of tumult in the markets, leading to pretty dramatically different interest rates. This number is lower than when we started. However, if one of two things happens, this number could change. The first is if interest rates begin to move in a more favorable direction, which we're hoping they do, that could lower that $5 million, which could raise that $5 million. If interest rates were to go up, that could actually lower that same $5 million as well. The second thing is if the district's able to identify what's called soft money, which is an additional loan for the project, the district could bring in potentially additional money at the onset. After that first 15-year period, which again includes some time where construction is happening, the district will receive 19.42% of the gross collected rents. That's effectively the total revenue that the site is bringing in. If Alliant was to sell a development, which is not uncommon for this type of project, the district would receive 25% of the sale proceeds. That would be a one-time payment should that event occur. In terms of the sort of day-to-day feel of the site, Alliant, the tenant is responsible for anything and everything that happens on the site. District effectively has no obligations to maintain the site, operate the site, be sued if something was to happen on the site, determine who lives in what room. There certainly can become an issue with staff or things like that, but the district does not have any say in those aspects. A couple of other things just to note around the housing. The federal affordability requirements that the developer is going for this type of project do fall off after 55 years. We've added in additional affordability requirements that, unless the board chooses to act otherwise, would ensure that this project is 100% affordable for the entire duration of the project. Teachers and staff have a guaranteed preference. This is a sort of defined legal concept, so there's not a lot of language about this. But what this means is two things. One, when the units open up, teachers are first in line. That means when all 85 units or 80 units or 90 units open up, teachers and staff are first in line. And it means that when somebody moves out, teachers and staff are first in line for that unit. And that is true throughout the full term of the lease. One thing to note is the district is not actually, beyond sort of saying this is a district employee, the district is not legally allowed to rank employees' preference within that. So there's no world where we could say, our custodians are first in line and bus drivers, something like that. We're not able to do that. So there's no sort of hiring preference within the preference we're giving for our teachers and staff. Just briefly turning to some of the next steps here. This is a long 39-month project, right? And then there's multiple months of construction. Should the board approve this, a lot of the action and sort of the engagement does turn over to the city, who is responsible for finalizing some aspects of zoning, approving a specific project in its various capacity. And then Alliant does need to be successful in their application for federal housing credits, which is in part how this site is funded. So again, there's 39 months. I know for some folks, this may feel like this project is moving very quickly. For other folks, they may say, they're trying to do something with the site since 2013. It feels like it's probably not moving quickly enough. But for all parties involved, we do expect this to be continued engagement, continued dialogue, both in the district and the city level over the next 39 months. With that, I conclude my presentation.
Do we have any questions or comments from the board? I think one thing that I'll say is I know that we've had so many discussions, and like you said, there was 70 mentions on Google.
70 news articles.
70 full news articles about this specific site. And we know back in June, I guess, June to November, there was lots of talk about this site. So I'm excited to see this being able to move forward. I know this was just an informational presentation. I also want to say, when Trustee Latu was president, I do know that there was a compromise and there was conversation happening about things that we could do to hopefully make this site more accessible. And I think that was the second entrance. And so that's something that I know that we financially can't afford to do, because we do want to bring in, like you said, bring in money for our budget in order to continue to pay our teacher salaries and keep them at that top, teacher salaries, staff salaries, so that we can be at that top percent in the county, right? And so I think that, hopefully the city and the county will also continue to pursue that second entrance. I know Mr. Mueller is now on the Board of Supervisors, and he also proposed a compromise as well that included that second entrance. And so now that he has a seat with some power, I hope that he can also continue to bring that forward with his board. Because I think that that would be really beneficial. I think that this project in general is very beneficial, and I'm so happy that it's happening, especially in Menlo Park. And you all know my thoughts about affordable housing and how it needs to be in every community. And so having that second interest, I think would be really, really great. So any other questions or comments?
To the chair, I think what you're saying is spot on. I believe during our intergovernmental meeting that we had, I think it was between us, the city, and it was facilitated by Senator Becker. That was a conversation point that was discussed in pathways forward. And so with the historical past that we have right now with that relationship, I want to ensure that there are as many ways that we can mitigate traffic as possible. I think that'd be a great benefit.
To the chair, then do we have direction from the board for staff to draft that letter requesting that we work in partnership with the county and city first to give as many entrances as possible?
Yes, I think so. I believe that that's direction from the board, right? To draft a letter to work with the outside officials.
For direction,
For direction.
not action.
I think we can work on preparing something like that for board approval at the next board meeting. We did something similar, I know, with Madison Capital, with a letter to the city, detailing out some of the board's wishes for developing that site. And it sounds like, if I understand correctly, the board sort of by consensus asking us to develop something similar to help develop this site in a responsible way, just as we asked for the 2120 Euclid site to be developed in a responsible way.
Yeah, I think that through the chair, that'd be something that'd be good to come back, just so that it's itemized and
Yeah.
we're making sure we're doing the right process.
And just to make sure I'm sort of understanding this correctly, I think the letter here would highlight the board's desire for multiple entrances to the site, which I think mirrors what we've heard from some of our suburban park neighbors. And also to Trustee Bloom's point, or excuse me, President Bloom's point, the desire to not necessarily have the district explore paying for the cost here. This is not something I think that, given the interest rates, the board feels the district can absorb that cost. And so we would highlight in this that we're very supportive of these efforts. We cannot necessarily at this time pay for those efforts. Great.
All right. So we look forward to when we will take action on that. Do we have any comments from the floor regarding item number 13?
Through the chair, go team. That's it.
No comments. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and keep moving. We're gonna go ahead and move on to item number 15, the consideration to approve the amendment to employment agreement between,
We're not doing 14.
wait, 14, sorry. I'm jumping. I have too many great things here. Okay, item number 14, consideration to approve the contract with SVA to redesign the field by Los Robles Round Air.
This is a bit of a unusual agreement. The city of East Palo Alto and the school district of Ravenswood School District have been long exploring ways to improve our spaces to make them more welcoming to the community. We're thinking about sort of different partnerships across the district, including the field by Los Robles. We, over the last couple of years, really have worked closely with city staff to think about ways to redesign that space in a way that makes it a little bit nicer. Right now, that field, well, more used than some of our other fields, is really not fit for, say, football home games, right? The Mastodons practice there, but they really can't host home games there because of the condition of that field. We'd like to find ways to invest in that field. And the city has also expressed an interest to invest in that field. What we're asking for, the city, I should also add, did approve as part of one of their recent budgets, funds set aside to improve that field. And what we're looking for specifically is to get that field shovel ready, which, as we know from other projects, does take time. That's not a fast thing to do. And so what we're proposing today, what I'm asking the board today, is to approve a resolution that authorizes staff to enter into an agreement with SVA if some conditions are met. The most important condition is that there is a split cost between the city and the district. So if the city at some point down the road was to approve funds for this cost, for this contract, we would split the cost, right? So the district doesn't have to necessarily enter into this contract should the city not approve those funds. The second aspect is that there is a sort of clear path towards getting additional funding for the site. The district does have a lot of bond funds right now, but also our schools have a lot of needs in the classrooms and hallways and corridors. And we need to prioritize, the board has in the past indicated support for prioritizing those spaces first. So we are looking for additional funds to potentially improve the quality of the underlying field there. So should those conditions be met, staff would then be authorized to enter into the contract, which we've attached as an amendment and addendum. We would then split the cost with the city of Palo Alto.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Through the chair, just one thing really, really quickly, because I want to keep moving on the agenda here. That for as long as I've been in the district, that field I feel could be utilized better. And I'm really excited to finally be looking at some possibilities. Everything in this district is moving forward so quickly now. It's really great.
The chair. If this is approved, will we get more of an idea of what the ideas are for the field? It's a future presentation.
I may have erred in this. I don't actually have it in front of me. I think I may have attached a preliminary design. Or I certainly intended to attach a preliminary design. I am very sorry about that. I will share that with the board. We do have a early schematic. The main concept here is a nicer field, frankly, with the designated seating, with designated sidelines, with fencing, with an entrance that makes sense. We are not talking about tens of millions of dollars. We're talking about 300 million to basically take a field that is semi-usable and make it fully usable in the way that it would just be, a nice field, not necessarily as exceptional as some of the magical bridge areas in back of middle school or Sonia.
You said 300 million.
Design will come back, right?
300 million, I'm sorry, 3 million. It will definitely be 3 million. We do not have 300 million to spare.
To the chair, to piggyback on Vice President Nunez's question, design will come back for approval.
You mean the final design of the site? Yes, the final design of the site. Sorry. What this contract allows us to do is kind of begin the more in-depth design process, kind of like what we've done at Belhaven. So it's not the board would approve sort of designs along the way, let alone before the final version.
Thank you. So I will entertain are there any comments from the floor regarding this item?
I'm very excited about this as well, especially with all the high schools that fight for one field in East Palo Alto. So being able to bring more sports services would be amazing and of great benefit to the district, because that's a lot of rental that could come from these spaces.
Keep our kids here.
That's the point.
Probably it's here.
Thank you. And there's no comments from the floor for this item. So now I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution, to make the resolution.
Contract. To the chair.
There's two things in the attachment of the item of 14.
Sorry, and then what the trustees are voting on is not actually the specific contract, but the resolution, which would authorize the district staff, I believe the superintendent or their designee, to enter into the contract should conditions be met.
So
it's namely the.
So in the
wording. Right, but it is a contingent, and it's also in the description that we want to recommend the board pass this resolution, conditionally approving the superintendent or a designee to enter into this agreement with SBA.
To the chair, I think with the agenda, it's important that the language is reflected in the items that is put forth in front of the board when it comes to approval going forward. Making sure that the contract here is the contract we're approving instead of the contract that's listed here, resolution there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just consistency in language. But through the chair, I move to approve item 14.
I'll second it.
And so we need to read before we vote. So we need to read the resolution.
I have it, just have to read it.
I have the resolution.
Oh, I have it here.
I did too.
We have to read it.
Yeah.
Not the whole thing.
Which is just the biggest, just the title.
Just a title. So, then I will make the motion.
No,
It's
you
already
just,
been done.
whereas the Ravenswood.
Oh, whereas the Ravenswood City School District seeks to create excellent outdoor spaces across the district for our families and the broader community and bring all
Okay, and so on and so forth.
So on and so forth.
There you go.
So, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, resolution is passed 4-0. Okay. We will now move on to item number 15, which is the consideration to approve the amendment of employment between Ravenswood City School District and Superintendent Gina Sidario, reflecting the percentage increase all district employees in the administrative unit received. The contract is an attachment on this, or the addendum is an attachment on the board agenda, and it is just following the contract that we had approved prior with Superintendent Sudaria, and so it is just making sure that we are giving her that reflected percentage increase going forward. So I will, and is there any comments or questions from the board? Right,
Staging.
yeah, and so I will entertain a motion to approve.
I move so approve item 15.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we're gonna go, it is approved 4-0. And we'll move on to item number 16. We have the California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly selection vote there. So we have to take time to vote for people. She has that down.
Right, this is for San Mateo County, and the candidates, if elected, have a 2-year term that would begin effectively April 1st, 2023. And you can select up to 3 candidates. And so I ask the trustees to make their selection, and then president will tally and see.
So we have a majority, we just need quorum, right, majority 3. So do I need to say?
You have to name all the votes.
Yeah, okay, so we have 3 votes for Hopkins. We have 3 votes for Gregory Land. And we have 4 votes for Kalima Salad. Houdin. So, yes. Thank you. All right, we will move on to item number 17, which is board policy revisions presented to the board for our first reading.
To super review, updating the board policies.
Any questions or comments? All right, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Yes, to be brief here, I just wanted to make sure that the board is aware that on March 1st, Castaño School will be hosting Black History Art Night. And so we encourage all the trustees to participate March 1, and it's between 5:30 and 7 o'clock. Also at Castaño School on the same day, there will be the vaccine clinic that will offer COVID-19 vaccine, booster, and flu vaccine, and that will be between 5 and 8 p.m. So you can enjoy a beautiful night at Castaño School, celebrating Black history art, and as well as getting protected. We've initiated a listening campaign, myself, the assistant superintendent, and chief strategy officer, making ourselves available to hold space for, right now we've just started scheduling our certificated staff, and then we will soon be scheduling time with our classified staff through spring. We want to make sure that we hold space to hear from all of our staff members, their experiences, so that then any themes and trends that surface, we will be able to address with decisions that we can make this year and also in our planning for 23-24 school year. We've also been working closely with our instructional leadership team, led by the superintendent, and most recently facilitated by Marissa McGee, our diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging coordinator. We are working closely on really making sure that we are understanding our students' day-to-day experiences, and so we've initiated a campaign to shadow a student before March 16th. And an example of a full day is potentially at the bus stop all the way until they get picked up or dropped off by the bus. As we saw Mateo, the video of Mateo from Belhaven, we truly want to see through the students' own experiences and their eyes what we are offering. So again, we can make student-centered decisions. And then our very own Solomon Hill has been awarded Director of Technology of the Year for represent San Francisco and San Mateo County.
Yeah.
And so the team is really excited to have recommended him for obviously many reasons that we will share more publicly at our next SCORE meeting. But I want to make sure you know that he has been recognized and selected across both those counties as Director of Technology of the Year. And of course, he's our Executive Director.
And my next school after you.
And then I also want to publicly acknowledge the leadership from all of our staff members, especially our school site administrators, for persevering through this power outage. The last couple of mornings, they've been woken up to text messages, 5:45. Some even have poked me earlier before I poke them, just to see what is going on and what the status is. Unfortunately, Los Robles and Castaño were affected yesterday. District office was affected in the afternoon, where both those school sites were closed. And Castaño was closed again for the second day. We've been in communication with the mayor of East Palo Alto, who also offered to provide space for staff because district office did not have power or Wi-Fi at the moment. And so hence why we are holding our board meeting here at Belhaven School. I appreciate the leadership from our board of trustees also advocating for President Bloom and Trustee Latu reaching out to county supervisors to support and advocating for the fact that our community had not been served and addressed in the immediacy that we deserve. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Just a really quick comment about that last, through the chair. According to my phone, all power is back on in East Palo Alto and Belhaven. Not so much on the other side of water. Our side has power.
I will also echo this, and I will just thank Trustee Latu especially for all the work that she's done in our community and has been doing for forever. But especially in the last few days, I know that she personally reached out to many elected officials at the county level, at the state level, and at the city level. And not only that, if you follow her on social media, which you should, she was out there in the streets for the last 2 days, delivering everything that she possibly could for our community, for our elders, blankets, gift cards.
The city's power.
Yeah, the city's power packs that they were sending out. She took it upon herself to use her personal time to go out and hand those out to our elders and to our most vulnerable residents. So I really want to thank Trustee Latu specifically for the work that she does for our community and the way she advocates for our community, and not just advocates on a high level, but also is actively working and communicating and present. And I do appreciate that. And I know that all of our, our school staff, especially, with our kids, making sure, like dropping my kids off today at school, I'm so thankful that there was heat and there was heat and there was light there, because there was not heat or light at our house until 7 something today. So that was over 4 p.m., over 48 hours with no heat. And I also want to just thank the after school program as well. We have Mr. Manny here with us as well, Boys and Girls Club, just sticking it out with the parents that couldn't pick them up on time because they were working, and dealing with things like not having internet, not having a phone system at Los Robles as well because of the outage in the district office. So all of our staff, all of you guys here who set this up in a matter of hours to be able to host this meeting, we thank you so much for the work that we do, that you guys do, on a daily basis that we don't do, so that we can be in this space, so that we can continue to advocate. And as Trustee Alexander said, move some of these projects at such a quick pace, to continue to make our community know that we see them and we hear them, and we will amplify their voice, even if other people are gonna try to ignore us, because we won't be ignored. And so I am disappointed from PG&E for not even mentioning East Palo Alto.
The news stations,
Sorry,
the news stations.
the news stations
When
were not
they
mentioning.
didn't mention East Palo Alto, they mentioned Stanford, they mentioned Menlo Park,
Yeah,
but not once did they say that East Palo Alto, not until today, this morning.
right, and that's over 4,000 residents that did not have heat and power. Those are elderly people that do not have heat and power. Those are our children that do not have heat and power. And we know in our community, with the kids that we serve, throwing away a fridge full of food is a big deal. They can't just order food. So these places and these systems like Second Harvest Food Bank, the EHP, all of these, I believe there was also another church on O'Keefe that was also giving out food. Those are real needs for our community. And when we talk about Ravenswood students and our community, we're serving the needs of the most vulnerable. And for them to be able to eat at our schools and to be able to have heat and power at our schools is so important. And I'm disappointed that our schools were not prioritized. And this is the forum that we could say that publicly. And I would hope in the future, PG&E is held accountable to us to be transparent on what happened, why we weren't communicated to, why we received no answers, why no crews were sent to our community until this morning or late last night. That is unacceptable to have over 24 hours. At that point, we were at 30 or 35 hours with no power or heat. That is unacceptable. And I am so thankful that we have members in our community, as everybody that is sitting here, everyone in this room, people in our community that make sure that that every student and every family is taken care of. I know that even though Los Robles was closed and Castaño was closed, staff was there to hand out food to any family that needed it. Staff was there and staff was present. And that's something that I am so thankful for. And I know our community is thankful for. And as we move forward, we will be asking and looking for answers and looking for transparency, because the way that we were treated is disrespectful and it is not okay. And if our community doesn't have a platform to say that, I'm saying that now. And believe me, we will use every platform that we have to continue to say that. So again, thank you.
To the chair, just a point of clarification really quick. 4,000 households,
Right,
were affected.
that's right, not just people.
We have multifamily households, multi-generational households. And so while that 4,000 might seem little, we could be potentially talking about 10 to 15,000 individuals, human beings, who were subjected to that type of disrespect. And I implore our board to continue to fight the good fight and to continue to create pathways that we start holding these companies and organizations accountable for their actions, because it's crimes against our kids.
Yeah.
Oh, we have board reports?
Yes.
I have a board report.
Yes.
I
It's a
do
really
too.
quick one.
Okay, so thank you for the superintendent's report. And we are gonna move on to item number 19, which is board report.
The chair, just really quick, over the last 2 weeks, President Bloom and myself had the opportunity to meet with 3 Sequoia Union High School District trustees. We believe that this is a brand new start to a more budding relationship. And we look forward to continuing to create pathways to better the relationship between the Ravenswood City School District and Sequoia Union High School District.
Through the chair, the enrollment subcommittee, is that what we're called?
Yes.
Met, and a couple of things that we talked about were the enrollment campaign to try and increase enrollment in the Ravenswood City School District, and looking at specific ways to do that. We're also looking at the charter authorizations for our 2 charter schools that are coming up, and looking into getting annual reports and looking at those charter renewals with a very critical eye. We, as part of the enrollment campaign, one of the things we're doing is specifically highlighting what is unique about our district, what we want to do there. How does it compare to the surrounding school districts where parents have chosen to send their kids, or to the surrounding charter or private schools? And to really highlight the advantages to sending your child to Ravenswood, as far as academics, as far as electives offered to our students. And the last thing that we are talking about is exploring the efficacy and continued efficacy of the Tinsley program, and the steps that need to be taken to ensure that the Tinsley program ensures the best education for all students involved. Particularly looking at whether the best education for those students is right here in Ravenswood. And that was it for the committee.
And I know that our enrollment got up to 1,500 in the last week. So we're at that, the students enrolled. Thank you. Any other board reports? All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on to consideration to approve resolution number 2223, board member excused absences for trustee Shabomaheen. She had a family conflict. Yeah. So
Through the chair, I move to approve item 17. Sorry, item 20 for trustee Shabomaheen.
do I have a second?
Whereas Education Code 3512085 authorizes that each member of the governing board, trustee Shabomaheen, there go.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, our next regular board meeting will be held on March 9th at 6:30 p.m. The Castagna School of the Arts team will present before closed session. Open session is expected to resume at approximately 7:15. Thank you. So we have now adjourned at 9:20 p.m.